Welcome to a special edition of the YXE Sports Podcast. We are live on a Tuesday afternoon. Matt Morrison, happy to be along with you on the Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar Facebook page, the YXE Sports Podcast Facebook page, and we're also on No YXE. We did just have an episode last night, but we have a special edition episode with a special guest, a returning guest. Commissioner, co-founder, player of the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League, Justin D'Entremont joins us from the war room, the bunker, the home office, the commissioner office, whatever you want to call it. Looks like you still have a little bit of organized chaos going on in that war room of yours there.
Yeah. This is all those things you just said. That's what I call this room.
You need like a deputy commissioner. You know how Gary Bettman has Bill Daly that basically just deals with all the BS on the side. You need one of those. And strictly just to like clean your office or your war room, right?
That sounds great. Yeah.
Justin, first of all, thanks again for taking some time this week. Another slate of games coming up on August the 28th. It is the last last slate of games, I should say, for the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League regular season, and then the playoffs will start in September. But the playoff push is on, and this upcoming weekend, the games have some pretty big playoff implications.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's weird how fast it's going by. I already have game day this weekend, and then it's one more until playoffs. But no, as you mentioned there, it's pretty exciting with how the standings currently sit. The Snowbirds, then Bucks, then Axemen, then Ravens. The Snowbirds have solidified their spot in the 1-2 playoff game, and then the Bucks and Axemen will be fighting for that other spot in the 1-2 game, and they play each other twice on Saturday. So both those games should be very, very intense and very important.
Right, the Snowbirds are taking on the Ravens this upcoming weekend. The Bucks are taking on the Axemen. The Bucks currently do have that, occupying that number 2 spot in the standings with 6 points. The Axemen have 5. So I don't know if you would agree with this, Justin, but that's probably going to be not to take anything away from the Snowbirds Ravens matchup, but the 2 games between the Bucks and the Axemen are probably going to be the game, or the 2 games to keep our eye on this weekend.
Yeah, well, it certainly appears that way because of the standings, but
right.
It's because of the situation with COVID and how we had to do the season, everything. Teams have been it hasn't been totally fair with their lineups that have showed up every weekend. So I truly believe all 4 teams are pretty even, but it hasn't looked that way at times due to some top players not showing up or, not being able to attend these games and whatnot. So, I mean, the Snowbirds Ravens game, I'm sure will be very interesting. And for another reason, last night was actually our trade deadline. And we had one trade, so it was the only trade of the first season here. So I guess I'll just announce it.
The first ever trade of the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it was pretty cool. So I congratulated the managers of the 2 teams there last night for getting it done because, I mean, one trade is better than none. So
right.
So the trade is officially the Snowbirds sent James McDonough, who's a forward, John Rose, who's a goalie, and their 3rd-round pick in 2022 to the Ravens in exchange for defenseman Jarrett Penner. So the three assets in exchange for one, and then those 2 teams play each other on Saturday. So the first game of the day is the 2 teams that just made a deal going head to head. So that should add a little excitement and something cool to talk about and think about and watch. So it should be fun.
So you mentioned the trade, obviously, that you just announced. Kind of take us through player by player. What's that going to mean for both teams, and how are both teams going to benefit from a deal like this?
Yeah, I'm not totally in, or I'm not in almost at all with a lot of the trade rumors and discussions because I don't know. I'm not a manager, and they avoid telling me rumors, So, yeah. But I know Jarrett Penner was. There were probably all 3 teams wanted to acquire his services. He's just a good young athlete who battles very hard, and plays D, blocks shots, wins battles. He takes the odd penalty, but it's because he's passionate. It's because he just doesn't back down. He's not stupid. He just takes takes hard battling penalties. So I think he has a lot of things that every team wants. So I think that's what it came down to. The Snowbirds had 3 goalies. They were the only team that had 3 goalies, and there were 2 teams. Well, the Ravens, for playoff weekend, Landon Moldenhauer, one of their goalies, is not available to attend that weekend. So acquiring John Rose was big for them there, that they have a second goalie for playoffs, which obviously is huge. Now you have a safety net right now. You don't have to worry about something bad happening and then you're stuck throwing a player in goal or whatever. And then I guess just the Ravens weren't willing to give up Penner for cheap, so they got a 3rd round pick coming back, which is great for them. And James McDonough is a very serviceable forward as well, a great guy, a great teammate. I play on the Snowbirds, so I was playing with James here the first 2 game days. Shows up with a smile, works hard, great teammate. I was saying, so it's a win both ways the way I see it, and I'm looking forward to see how it plays out.
Well, and what I'm most intrigued by, not necessarily intrigued by, but most interesting part of that deal is the fact that you can trade draft picks. Now, obviously, the team managers and things like that would know about it, but the casual fan or maybe somebody that's thinking about joining the Premier League years down the road, might not know that. So that's just a cool kind of thing that the teams do have the abilities or the ability to trade draft picks, and that just goes to show that this Premier League isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh, it's not going anywhere. We're here for keeps. That's absolutely. No, it's there are definitely many question marks still about, from here to the point we get to once we turn into a pro league and the future, like it's how things shape up and everything. There's a lot of things to figure out still. So we decided to go with, each team had 5 draft picks that they had available to move, to trade. So that's what we went with, because we're still unsure of how many rounds there will be in next year's draft, because with our contract, the way our contracts work. So each team has, I don't think we went over this last week, Matt, the contracts.
I don't think so either, no.
Yeah. So each team actually has, every player's on a contract. So each team has a couple players on 4-year contracts, 3-year contracts, 2-year contracts, and then the rest are on 1-year contracts. And so everyone on a 1-year contract plays out this season, and then they are free agents after, or not free agents, sorry. They actually go back into the draft, and anyone on a multi-year contract stays with that team for next season and, play out their contract. So there's, we don't know how many players are going to be in the pool next year to draft. I believe there's going to be a lot. I think this season is going to be a success. It's already a success, in my opinion. So I think the numbers will grow. So I think it won't be an issue. But to play it safe, we didn't want to give every team 10 draft picks to move, because then what if somebody trades a 10th round pick and then next year the numbers are small and there's not 10 rounds? So then we have to, anyway, it just seemed like it could have been a mess. So to play it safe, we just gave everyone their first 5 picks to deal with, and one of them went last night. So far, so good.
You had me excited there for a second. I thought maybe come July or something like that, I'd be able to host a free agent frenzy. But maybe a few years down the road, we can do a free agent frenzy for the Premier Ball Hockey League.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, next year.
Next year, perfect. You kind of mentioned, you just in that little spiel that you were giving there, you kind of mentioned about how you think that the league has been a success so far through the first year, and I would definitely agree with that. So we're through 2 weeks of the Premier League season. We got the final regular season week and then playoffs coming up in the middle of September. Kind of just maybe if you could elaborate on why you think it's been a success, and has everything sort of, for the most part, kind of gone to plan here in year one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, a success in year one is we get off the ground, we put it out there, we put the games up, we get the cameras, we get eyes on the sport, we get them up on our YouTube channel, and we grow the game and we make it look good. And I mean, we've done all those things, in my opinion. So this year there was 81 players that play in the league, and I see no reason why, with what we've done, that we won't attract I mean, I'm a dreamer. Like, not everyone agrees, but like, I can't see why we won't double those numbers by next year. With there's been a lot of good ball hockey players that just chose not to play this year. A lot of uncertainties again with the COVID situation, and then maybe just not believing we were gonna put all the cameras and all the stuff into it that we actually did. So maybe players just thought it was just going to be, just another league to play in, and I'm too busy to play in another league. And so, like, who knows? But I think with what we've done, we will attract a lot of those players. And then there's a lot of good hockey players in Saskatoon area, in Saskatchewan, all the players that play senior hockey now and all that stuff. And there's a lot of them that are now going to be aware of ball hockey and what we're doing. And I mean, yeah, I have actually no doubt that we're going to attract tons of players. But I mean, I guess the real question is when, because I'm not going to stop. This is going to keep going, and it's not going to get worse. So just the question is, when do all those players show up? I think it's going to be right away. But other people are more passive or conservative about that. They thrown out 3 years, 5 years. But me, I'm like, next year, right now. Yeah. Let's bring in imports for playoffs.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, let's see who's over in you could do the imports, you could do actual imports from Europe, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
the
sky's the limit.
We were just in a good majority of the players in the Premier League were just in Calgary because Calgary had the men's, masters, and women's A nationals. So a lot of us, and I know some guys, some players from other provinces, and some people are aware. People in other provinces are aware, and I floated around that idea with a couple players from Manitoba or Alberta saying, maybe we'll bring in imports next year. And I mean, that probably won't happen if I'm being honest. But it's a fun, like, it's the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League, so it's probably more appealing to keep it within Saskatchewan. But I don't know. I mean, nothing's set in stone. It's a cool idea, a cool thing to think about, and the fact that other people around Canada they're aware of what we're doing, it's exciting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll touch on Calgary and kind of what happened there a little bit later on in the show. But of course, we are live on the Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar Facebook page. Obviously, I'm not at Wendell Clark's today, but I was at Wendell Clark's last night. And we're going to switch gears for 2 seconds, Justin, because the Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar in Saskatoon is your one-stop shop for Saskatchewan Rough Rider football. Each and every game is broadcasted at Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar. $5 bevies, appies, prizes, and your opportunity to win a Rider mini fridge. So make sure for all Saskatchewan Rough Rider games, you head on down to Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar on the corner of Circle and Idlewild. I was going through some of the stats through the first 2 weeks of the season earlier today as I was prepping for this, Justin, and a couple of names obviously stood out to me, right? Brock Harrison, kind of all the normal guys, but Terrell Drowdy, 9 points in 2 games, which is the big stat that, kind of stuck out to me. 5 of those are goals. And Colton Adair also 5 goals in 2 games for the Snowbirds as well. Robbie Huffnagel has been good in net. He's 2-0 for the Snowbirds. So, the big guns are being the big guns so far through the first 2 weeks. Yeah,
absolutely. Josh Anderson, another one with just 2 games played, 7 points. Like, that's another thing. The Snowbirds and Bucks played on the second game day there, and it was kind of like they were the 2 winners of the first game day, so it was supposed to be like the 2 kind of whatever top dogs going at it. But unfortunately for the Bucks, they had Drowdy and Anderson not able to play on that day, and those players are like, they're both forces to, so it was a bit of a little disappointing, or well, not disappointing. Like, it is what it is. Everyone has lives and things to do, and that's okay. But like, hopefully the teams meet up again in playoffs with full lineups, and then we'll see how it shakes out, because those games were one-sided, but I don't think they're not going to be if all the players are there and everything. So yeah, it is what it is. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty impressive. And then Colton Adair, like you said, he played his first 2 games and has 6 points in 2 games with a couple ridiculous skilled goals. Like,
well, what a way to make an entrance into the league too, right? Around in week 1 back in July, but how about that for your first 2 games of the season?
Yeah, right. Oh man, some natural skill there, and the quick hands. It's pretty
We had
impressive.
we had a double overtime game back on August 7th as well. We've had, so what is that, 2 overtime games now so far through the season. That was the first game that went to double overtime. But kind of just what stood out to you from that August 7th game day out in Dalmany?
That double overtime game, that was the best game of the season so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure anyway. It was if I remember correctly, I think the Ravens were up 2 or 3-0. And at that, Ravens ended up winning in overtime, and that was their first win of the season. So every team has a win now, by the way. So that's great for the league. So at that point, the Ravens had not won yet, but they were up early in that game, 2 or 3-0, and then the Axemen clawed back, and then there was a lot of drama, a lot of back and forth, and big goals, and the late goal to tie it, and then penalties in overtime, and frustration, and it was fun to watch. You can tell when frustration boils over, it's not always fun for the players involved that are currently frustrated, but It makes for some good drama, makes for some good entertainment. And to me, that's what stood out was that game. It was the 5:00 game there on the second game day. The Ravens had some key players not attend their first games, and they showed up, so they had a stronger lineup. And then the Axemen had their offensive guys fire in, Laframboise and Magnus. So to me, that was the obvious. The Axemen have now lost 2 overtime games, so they're not exactly the Habs there of '93. No, it's good. I mean, the games have been good. The odd one-sided game, but every one-sided, I've looked at it, every one-sided game, the team that loses the one-sided game, they have key players not there on that day, and you can't convince me that doesn't matter, right? So everything should shape up pretty good. I mean, I'm looking forward to this weekend. Games should be good. Looking forward to the playoffs. Did I mention the playoff format? I can't remember.
I think you did in the previous episode. I'm not sure if you did earlier today or not, but why don't you kind of just run it through for our viewers and listeners one more time? Yeah,
sure. It's like a curling draw is kind of what we're doing. So with the 4 teams, the first place team plays the second place team in the first game, and the winner goes right to the final. And then the loser of that game goes to game 3. And then in game 2, it's the third place team versus the fourth place team. Loser's eliminated. And then the winner of that game goes to game 3 in the semifinal. And then the winner of the semifinal plays the team in the final. So it's just going to be 4 games in total. So anything can happen. The team in fourth place can still win the league, and the team in first place can still
choke,
not even make the final and choke. Yeah. So originally the plan was just 3 teams make the playoffs, and the fourth team doesn't make it. But just with all the the absenteeism and whatever, we don't want a team to be left out due to those type of reasons. So for this season's how we're doing it. Everyone gets in, and everyone has a shot.
August 28th, again, this upcoming Saturday is the next installment for the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League. Those games are out in Dalmany. We're going to let you go soon, Justin, but you did mention a little bit earlier how you and a bunch of other players from, really the entire province, but a lot from Saskatoon too, were out in Calgary last week. Just kind of take us through why you guys were in Calgary and what kind of hardware you guys came home with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an awesome week. So the A National Tournament is a week long tournament. It starts on Monday and ends on Monday to Saturday. So the men's team played very well. Our record, we ended up going 1 win and 4 losses, but all 4 losses we could have won legitimately. We're close games and just not getting bounces, and it's tough. It's tough to win at that level. Everybody's so good. It's so competitive. So I'm proud of everybody. We played well. We're getting better. So just trying to build, and next year try to do better. And our Masters team. So the Masters division is 39 and over, but you're allowed a handful of underagers. Underagers can be 36 or over. So I'm 36 years old. So I was actually playing on the Masters team as well. And our Masters team, we ended up winning gold. It was the first gold medal for the province of Saskatchewan at a level ever. So this was a huge deal for us. Not only did we win gold, this was a year where the winning team actually qualifies for the Masters World Championships next year in the Czech Republic. So we won our spot to go to Czech Republic as Team Canada in 2022. So, I mean, I got a little bit of chills right now just saying those words again.
Right.
It's so exciting. We knew we had a good team going in. We were talking, saying all the right things, and we genuinely believed it. I did anyway, and it felt genuine from everybody. We had a plan. We executed it. And I mean, we won. The final was against a host team from Calgary. Actually, we ended up winning 3-2. We were up early, and then early in the second half, they scored 2 quick goals, so they went up 2-1. So then we had to come from behind, tie it, and then Jeff Bissett plays for the Ravens, got the winner with about 7 minutes to go. A nice snipe high blocker. The games are up on YouTube if anyone wants to watch. It's very exciting. We're all thrilled. We're still talking about it. I got my jersey hung over there, and I don't know. We're already starting to talk about what our new jerseys, Team Canada jerseys for the World Championships and everything, and it's just very exciting to.
Well,
to
hey, maybe you could for sure. Maybe you could sneak a play-by-play guy into the Czech Republic in one of the bigger suitcases or something like that. So we'll have to work on the logistics of that as well. So, like I said, this upcoming Saturday in Domini, 4 games again. 1, 3, 5, and 7. Huge playoff implications as it is the final week of the regular season. Justin, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you out in Domini this weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Matt.
All right, take care. Justin D'Entremont, of course, commissioner, co-founder, and player in the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League. Those Premier League games are up on YouTube as well at Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us for the special edition of the YXE Sports Podcast. I know last week I said that we were going to be back on next Monday. We still are, but I thought I'd surprise you with a special Tuesday edition of the YXE Sports Podcast. So we will talk to you from Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar on Monday.